all these coordinator changes. Let's bring in our friend, one of the greats there in Philadelphia, our friend, a Paisan brother from another mother. He is Marc Farzetta. We appreciate him. How you doing, brother? How you going there, man?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How you doing?
It's kind of like you're like a withdrawal. You're going through, you're usually at this place here, the Eagle fans right now. I saw a poll from the Inquirer. Do you care about the Super Bowl? Hell no, I don't give a shit about what's going on in Santa Clara. I don't care about anything other than what's going on in our neck of the woods here, but kind of like a withdrawal a little bit because I think many people thought you would at least been in the NFC title game, no?
I did not see that. I mean, I didn't think they'd be a one-and-done team when it came to losing to the San Francisco 49ers and whatever that was that they had bubble-gummed together to play the Eagles. But the Eagles all season were trying to say, hey, look, this is what we are. Everybody pay attention. And then there was a brief, fleeting moment where Nick Sirianni was going to take over more responsibility, and that turned out to be a big dud. And with the season on the line, they went to Kevin Patullo for the play. And guess what? Shocker, he didn't have it. And now we got to – I felt – I don't know if I told you this before or not, but I felt a sense of relief when the season was over. I mean, it was like, okay, we're not going to try to figure this out anymore. It's time to get rid of Patullo, get the offensive line healthy, find someone that's going to help Jalen Hurts grow his game, and we're going to move on. That's what I felt at the end of the season. And then – over the last, week, I've just been pissed off about shoveling snow. So that's taken over that, the rage I felt watching the Eagles try to have an offense this year was immediately replaced by the rage of shoveling snow.
So I just asked Zander this question. Let me ask you. Yeah. With all these coordinator changes, we'll get to the new one here in a minute, but if Doug Peterson had stayed, do you believe that he would have had as much winning, more winning? Jalen would have been a better quarterback, a worse quarterback, if they had decided to keep Doug that fateful week when they decided to move on from him. How do you think? Do you believe he would have won as much as Nick, less or more?
No, he would not have won as much as Nick Sirianni. I mean, look, for all the faults that Nick Sirianni has, that guy wins. Like, he wins a boatload of football games. It was starting to fall apart with Doug Peterson already. And if he stays, that means more of his offensive coaching staff also stays. And his offensive coaching staff was not that great. I mean, at least you had Frank Reich. After that, are we celebrating Press Taylor? Like, what are we doing after that? We're celebrating Mike Groh? Like, I really liked and still like and respect Doug Peterson, but the whole Carson Wentz situation blew up. Doug couldn't manage that. I don't really know who could have, but him trying to pick his own staff and getting into the power struggle, unfortunately, with management, it wasn't going to happen with Doug. I think it was when he was done, I honestly felt nothing. I didn't feel like it was this is a travesty. What are they doing? He just won a Super Bowl 2 years ago. I felt like it was time to make the change. I feel like it had run its course. It was great. The one thing that is intriguing to me is, like Sean Mannion, who I know we'll get to, you're talking about a guy who played the position. He played the position around some pretty great quarterbacks in his career, and maybe he would have had something to really offer Jalen Hurts to help grow his game faster. But around that same time, the other side of the coin is that Jalen was in his, second year as a starter, the runner-up in the MVP award to Patrick Mahomes. That's pretty damn good. He was in a Super Bowl already, so it would have been hard to have been better. Literally, you'd had to win a Super Bowl early on, very early goings of Jalen Hurts' career, to justify the time machine in knowing whether or not Doug would have been better or not.
Fair enough. Now, okay, since you mentioned, and I mentioned also Sean Mannion, explain to me how you think he offers something to Jalen Hurts when he's been a coach for 25 months.
I can't. And anyone. I mean, Skills, I'm sure you've had
just playing the position. Okay, I get it. I get it. But Farzi, he's been a coach only for 25 months. First and foremost, how did he land this job? And secondly, where they interviewed 18 people. That's the dude?
Yo. So not great. Right out of let's start with this. It was not on any. He wasn't on anybody's short list that I know of. And if anyone's trying to tell you, look, I understand there's going to be former teammates of his, guys he played with, of course, guys he played for. There from his high school. His dad was his coach for a while too. I understand there's going to be all these people. Oregon State. Oh, he's so great. He's so brilliant. Yeah, he's never called plays. And when Jalen Hurts has a guy that has at least called plays for a year, he seems to do pretty damn good. He tends to go to the Super Bowl, as a matter of fact. You get a guy that hasn't called plays, well, then you better be a boy wonder. And that's what Sean Mannion needs to be, a boy wonder, to really figure out how to get this offense back on track, how to figure out how the offensive line is going to work for you next year, how to not be predictable, how to get Jalen to be less predictable. Like that, these are all things a guy who, as you said, 24, 25 months of being a coach has to figure out. That seems like a pretty tall order. And then you talk about a guy who's going to be your passing game coordinator in Josh Grizzard. He's called plays once in his career. Other than that, he has more experience as a quality control coach than he does as a play caller. So this isn't exactly a brain trust from the outside looking in that you're putting Jalen Hurts in. So look, here's the thing. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to say nice things about Sean Mannion and try to build him up. And you know what? Fine, because no one can tell you that you're wrong other than the fact that obviously there's no experience here in calling plays or even being a coordinator before. What the Eagles fan base is trying to, or excuse me, what the Eagles are trying to sell the fan base on right now is because he's young, he's innovative. Those don't go hand in hand. Sure, you could have a guy like Kellen Moore who just retires 1 second, next minute he's calling plays and he's doing a great job. But those still seem like they're few and far between. If you're really looking to build up what Sean Mannion could be before he ever calls a play in the regular season, I think it is worth noting that Matt LaFleur thought it's a good idea to have him around. Sean McVay thought it was a good idea to have him around. Jeff Fisher drafted him. I mean, this is an experienced head coach, albeit a defensive mind. Pete Carroll, again, a defensive mind. He thought it was a good idea to have him in Seattle twice. There's we could talk about Clint Kubiak. We could talk about Kevin Stefanski, Kevin O'Connell. Like, these guys look at him and see a guy that could be a backup quarterback. And when you're a backup quarterback, it's not just about whether or not you can go out there and play. It's about whether or not you can get the starter ready to play, help the starter get ready to play, run other teams' defenses or offenses, excuse me. Those are things that I think add to the experience of at least what creativity he could bring to the table, diversity he could bring to the table, good quarterbacks he's played around. Being around a guy like Tom Clements with the Packers, he's worked with a lot of quarterbacks. The Eagles need to diversify their offense greatly and think way outside the box. I think, Sean, if you're asking me if I'm optimistic or pessimistic, there's nothing that is overwhelmingly optimistic about the hire except a big fat maybe. But there's nothing there that makes you go, oh, here's the proven track record of this guy turning guys around. Like, when your brag is Malik Willis, like, that's not exactly, blowing me away. You know what I mean?
I mean, when you brought up the greatness of Jeff Fisher, I kept thinking about the wonderful coaching job he did on Vince Young when he was in Tennessee. I mean, that was legendary, right? Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, so
phenomenal.
So Farzy, when I'm in the offensive quarterback room and I'm Nick Sirianni, well, I've called plays. Hey, Kevin Patullo, you've called plays. Let me see here. Oh, Josh Grizzard, you call plays. Who's the one dude in the room my offensive coordinator? He hasn't called plays. I don't even know. If you're jailing, you're sitting in there and you're like, wait, okay, this is kind of, you guys have all called plays. At least you've called plays. I mean, you can say whatever you want about Kevin Patullo. They won 11 games with him. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were 11. I look over at this guy. He's been a coach for 25 months. Man, I just don't know how you land on that. So let me move on to this next one here. So the greatness of Vic Fangio. Now, I don't know what's going on. Do you think by the way, do you believe if he does come back, this is his final season?
I don't think you flirt with quitting twice. Or excuse me, 3 times. I think once, I got one more year. Oh, that was still a pretty good year. I got one more left in me. I think that could happen. I think if there's a financial aspect of it too, that could speak his language a little bit more also. The fact that he's so close to home, I think that speaks a little bit of his language as well. But I think that if he does come back this year, if that does eventually become ironclad, I wouldn't see how it wouldn't be a one and done. And the Eagles would be fools to think it wouldn't be anything more than one last hurrah for Vic Fangio.
Man, I'm okay, and then help me out on this one. So how did Jeff Stoutland go from having one of the most iconic run games in NFL history, maybe the most iconic run game, including the Emmitt Smith teams, to being reportedly from being the run coordinator to now you're in a position where you're questioning on your roster? How did Jeff Stoutland go from the best offensive line coach in pro football to being a guy they're questioning his decision-making this past season? And reportedly after the mini bye, they took those responsibilities away. How'd you get there?
I feel like this is 2 out of 3 questions you're asking me to explain stupid, and it's really hard, okay? Like, I can't tell you what's great about Sean Mannion. He's 33. Yay. I don't know. And this isn't on you. This is on the Eagles here. I'm trying to explain what the hell the Eagles are doing here. How do you demote? Yeah, how do you demote the guy that, other than Vic Fangio, is the most trusted coach in the room? Like, what are we doing here? This is 1 year after having one of the most historic rushing seasons ever, tacked on to what could very well be a position coach Hall of Fame career of Jeff Stoutland. And you're saying, no. You know what, Jeff? Do less. We know you're great at it, but just do less. How does that make any sense? It doesn't. It's dumb. And who's taking over more of that responsibility? Is it Kevin Patullo? Because that seems like a dumb idea. Is it Nick Sirianni? Because now we're getting dumber. This is ridiculous to me. And how the Eagles have done this, like, for instance, if you think in retrospect on a greater scale, you go back to 2023, and Brian Johnson actually had a top 10 offense. It started top eight. It started to falter towards the end. They had a couple like 19-point games, stuff like that. Definitely not a lot of flow to it. You can certainly point at that. Mistakes by Jalen Hurts, you can point to it like that. But on the defensive side of things, it was a train wreck under Sean Desai, and there were injuries that certainly played into that. But man, going and making that change was drastic at 10-3, going to Matt Patricia. Very similarly, this year, you mean to tell me on a lesser scale but similar, you're going to change who's in charge of the run game? Like, that was the problem? What? That makes zero sense. So the Eagles have done drastic things before, obviously with the defensive side of the football in the Desai to Patricia year in 2023. And now you're telling me that the guy that helped put together a historic push-button run offense that carried you to a Super Bowl and through the playoffs and through the regular season, you told that guy, you know what? We could do better without you. That is a slap in the face to a guy who, like I said, other than Vic Fangio, is the most trusted coach in the room.
With this hire of offensive coordinator?
I don't see how he could be. I
know I'm asking you very positive questions here. I'm putting you on the stand here.
Yeah, and I'm fine. What am I going to be on the fence on this one? No, this is easy. I mean, in all honesty, it's not fun to talk about what sucks, but it is easier. When you talk about AJ Brown, you're talking about the same type of thing you might be talking about with Jalen Hurts. And that is convincing somebody, walking into a room with strong personalities. And this is what some people don't like about maybe why people turn this job down. You're walking into a room with a head coach that's going to meddle. Okay. You're walking into a room where an owner and a general manager are going to have heavy input on things. And you're also going to take on a quarterback here who has been to 2 Super Bowls, won one of them, and been an MVP. Like, that's a tough room to convince. Hey, no. I got the answers. So you want to be a guy with barely any experience walking up to AJ Brown and be like, hey, man, I know how to get you the football more. No. Just wait. I know how to. If you're still here, I know how to get you the football. Jalen Hurts. Hey, Jalen, here are the numbers. You're pretty good at throwing over the middle of the field. Can we actually do that more than once every 5 weeks? Because you're actually good when you do it. Like, how is that guy going to convince either A.J. Brown that he's going to get the most out of him? How is he going to convince Jalen Hurts to expand his comfort zone? That's the thing that is more appealing about a more experienced play caller and someone who does have a track record in the NFL at working as an offensive coordinator, working as a play caller. That's a huge ask of someone who is very inexperienced, someone who has played the position of quarterback, but someone who is very inexperienced in terms of coaching and maybe looking around at other talent saying, I know how to get the most out of you, and I know how to make you look great in what offense I'm going to bring to the table.
Do you believe Lane Johnson, this is his last year? Do you think he's coming back or not?
The fact that he didn't give it a go in the playoffs is very disheartening. And I understand that it could have been, and from what I understand, it was just more serious, and that's why he basically was held out as long as he did. I would find it difficult to believe he wants to go out like that, but the guy does have a lot of life in front of him. He has dealt with his issues in the past that he's talked about openly. I wouldn't be shocked if he hung up the spikes. I do wonder though if the competitor in him says, "Let me give this one more." If it maybe he's got a chip on his shoulder about the team going downhill without him. Maybe he's got a chip on his shoulder about the way Jeff Stoutland's name is being dragged through the mud recently. Maybe those things play into it, but this guy has nothing left to prove. He's had an incredible career. If he wanted to call it quits right now, he's going to the Hall of Fame eventually. If you're asking me to bet on one or the other, I would bet on the idea that he does hang it up.
So I'm going to throw these names at you here, and you tell me back or not back. Reed Blankenship.
I think he's back, and I think a big part of that is because of Drew Makuba. You don't want two young safeties back there. You don't want to start up with a new one.
How much?
Sorry, go ahead.
How much?
Yeah, I don't know how much you would go for right now on the open market. It does depend. I mean, you got to draw a definitive line in the sand. You got to carve a line in concrete that you won't go over if you're Howie Roseman, because you have other, and I know we're going to get to these names as well, but you got other guys you got to make sure you bring back as well. But Reed Blankenship, I will say, if there's ever been an idea of a hometown discount, not that I ever think it's a deciding factor, Reed could certainly be offering that to the Eagles.
Would you pay more than 10 for him?
I would not pay more than 10. I would not.
Vic loves him, but Vic's only going to be here, like you and I believe, 1 year tops.
Yeah. What I know, the interesting thing with Howie is how he's going to shake that salary cap tree and a lot's money elsewhere. That's going to be a huge. I mean, look, one of the things that really blows me away with Howie is, I mean, not that this ended well by any means, but no one thought he was going to bring back Darius Slay and James Bradbury. He was able to do that. Like, there's just certain things that he pulls off in the offseason that are just, quite frankly, and I hate to give him this credit, but damn, wizardry. That's exactly what it is. But to answer your question, no, I wouldn't go over 10 for Reed Blankenship.
Okay, I happen to know the agency very well, Drew Rosenhaus down in South Florida, who represents Jalen Phillips. And by the way, Jalen Carter as well, and Darius Slay. So Jalen Phillips, Tennessee is going to make a pitch for him for about $22 million. Would you pay more than $22 million for Jalen Phillips?
No. I would not. And I
now
don't
look,
think the Eagles...
I'm assuming they want all these guys back, but Mark, these guys are going to be really, big time assets out there on the free agent market. By the way, I think he's ranked 5th in total free agents right now, so he's a big name out there.
He's going to get money. Yeah, he's going to get paid. I mean, look, he's got more of an opportunity to do it because of his position. But I don't see the Eagles paying $22 million for Jalen Phillips. I love the guy. I hope he's here. I hope Reed Blankenship is here and all that. But when it comes to the decisions you're making on Jordan Davis, when it comes to the decisions you're going to be making on Jalen Carter and elsewhere, I know we'll get to these, this is quite a hefty chunk of change that the Eagles are going to have to divvy up.
So Dallas Goedert, you asked him to make a $4.5 million pay cut when everyone got a raise a year ago. Everyone got a raise. Everyone but him. And he had 11 touchdowns. And in that offense, you could say that he had like maybe the best year of any tight end in football based on that offense. I mean, what do you do with Goddard? Is Goddard back? Are you giving him more money? Or are you allowing him to walk out the building knowing this, that you mean to tell me you can let AJ walk out? And if AJ walks out first, Mark, are you going to turn around and go, oh, yeah, the tight end 2's out? I mean, there's a potential you might lose Lane, AJ, and Goddard on that offense. I mean, you're not replacing them with draft picks.
Yeah. Another thing that might seem unattractive to other offensive coordinator candidates before they hired Sean Mannion. But I am huge on Dallas Goedert. His big question has been health. Fortunately, this year, I believe he only missed one game due to injury. Here's the other part of that. 7 touchdowns in the first 7 games, his first 7 games of the season, Sills. And then they go through about a 5-game stretch where they forget he exists. And then they get him back involved in the offense again, and they started cooking a little bit. So I would love to have him back. If the Eagles didn't forget about him in the midway portions of the season, you could be looking at a ginormous contract this year. You're talking about maybe 18 million, 19 million George Kittle type money, because that's the type of talent that he has. But unfortunately for him, he hasn't been able to stay healthy for the vast majority of his career. I think it depends on what goes down with A.J. Brown. Now, you're probably not going to know that till late, the post June 1st designation. I believe they want to keep him around. I know he took a $4.5 million pay cut, but they also guaranteed his $10 million. So there might not be bad blood there. And I know that he does love being in Philadelphia, and it depends on whether or not he could buy into Sean Mannion and whatever it is he's selling if he sticks around. I don't see the Eagles paying him, but if it doesn't work out with A.J. Brown, you could end up seeing Dallas Goedert stick around.
Do you punt the ball on Jalen Carter, and instead of do you pick up the 50-year option instead of giving him the contract extension? Because, I mean, let's face it, and you tell me if you agree or disagree. I'm sorry, Milton Williams outplayed every single one of those guys on the Eagle D-line. I mean, Davis, he outplayed Carter, the guy that they really should have thought of keeping. I know it's Monday morning quarterback stuff, but Farzy, you drafted a guy in the 3rd round, and I get you took the guy in the 13th pick and the other guy with the 9th pick, and you let that guy walk out. But Milton Williams is almost the same age as Jordan Davis, and you let that guy just walk out the building, and he's a star. He outplayed Carter. Do you punt this year, or do you give him a 3-year contract?
Are you classifying the 1-year extension as a punt? Or
I
are you
think
saying
the 5th-year option is a punt?
Okay. Well, then in this case, you're punting. What's the difference between Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis at this point? Have they proved it over? Have they proved consistency?
No.
Jordan Davis didn't do that last year. Now, look, if I'll answer the own question. You're talking about ceiling, Jalen Carter, it's a higher ceiling, certainly.
Yep.
Prove to me you're not going to go try to spit on somebody. Prove to me you're going to be there when you prove to me your shoulder's okay. Prove to me all this. And then you do that and you actually put it together. Not what we think you could do, but you actually do what we know you can do. And you prove it to us. We could be talking about a longer term deal, similar to the situation you put Jordan Davis in a year ago.
Couple last ones here for you. I'm going to ask you one last Eagle one. Then I'm going to ask you about the NFL here. Answer. In the Sirianni era, because the question in the Santa Clara at the Super Bowl is, who do you give more credit to, Bob Kraft or Bill Belichick when it came to that dynasty? So I'm going to use that here in Philly. Who do you give more credit to, Nick Sirianni or Jalen Hurts in the Sirianni era for success?
I give it to Jalen Hurts. And the reason for that is, how many quarterbacks' egos would have gotten in the way a year ago with a star running game like they had?
All of them.
No. I got to insert my way. I got to do what? No. This is my team. No. Realizing that you have that kind of offense, realizing that you have a bazooka when everybody else has a pocket knife, doing that, stepping aside. Oh, and then in the Super Bowl, you happen to crush it for yourself in the passing game. I give it to Jalen Hurts. And the other part of it is, especially in the 2022 season, how many broken plays were there that Jalen made with his legs, or Jalen scrambled and bought time behind the line of scrimmage and found guys downfield? Jalen's versatility has been incredible up until this season, unfortunately. You're talking about guys, Miles Sanders, DeAndre Swift, obviously Saquon Barkley, for the most part, the same receiving core. These guys are all getting 1,000 yards year after year after year now, and doing it in not 17 games, but 16 games with the exception of Smitty this past season. So Jalen's diversity and his versatility, I think, is the number one reason this team has been able to find success in the Nick Sirianni era. But with that all being said, Nick could get a lot more credit if you see Jalen take that next step in his career and grow with a new offense. And a lot of that not only goes to Nick Sirianni, it also goes with Sean Mannion. And the number one charge of Sean Mannion, of course, is to make that comfort zone of Jalen Hurts now expanded and realize when he should run. Call plays where he has to run the football. The old quarterback draw. Let me see that from time to time. But Nick, I look at, and I think he's a great delegator. But to me, it's not about delegating. It's about doing. Shane Steichen did. Kellen Moore did. Jeff Stoutland did. Vic Fangio did. Jalen Hurts does. I think that's really what it's about. I think Nick puts other people, for the most part, in good positions, but those people are the ones that have to come through. And they come through, they make Nick look good.
See, I mean, I saw a guy with Kyle Shanahan who had like a junior varsity team and a practice squad team, and he go into Philadelphia and he wins a ball game.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You had all that superstar talent, and you couldn't come up with a better play on 4th and 11, and you couldn't beat that team. They lost Kittle 4 minutes into the game. See, to me, I don't think he's a yes guy, and I don't think I should say this. He's an answer guy. I don't think if things are going bad, I don't think he has answers. That's my problem with the guy. When I see him as a coach, he doesn't have answers.
Yeah. My number one takeaway from watching the playoffs was, I mean, everyone knows coaching matters, but damn, it matters 10 times more than anybody thought it did when you watch the Eagles versus the field in the NFL. I mean, let's think about that. My number one takeaway is you see Sean Payton with a backup quarterback, go for it on 4th and 1 when you just take the points, babe. Just take the points, and he messes that up. You see the Seattle Seahawks trying to put a game on ice with Mike McDonald late in that game, storming down the field with Sam Darnold, still chucking the football. Like, that's aggression, but that's also great execution on their part. Things like that you had not seen with the Philadelphia Eagles all season long. How much coaching matters. And you're right, the biggest indictment is that you see a team that is all banged up and doesn't have the talent that it needs to win a game, but yet the coaches put them in the perfect position in order to have success against Philadelphia. What I learned more so than any other year I've watched I'll say in recent years, with recency bias, is this year watching the playoffs, you really know how much the league was head and shoulders above the Philadelphia Eagles when it came to coaching and truly putting their players in a better position to have success, and also, go to the Seahawks for this, not taking their foot off the gas as the Eagles did time and time again this year.
How many people look at the game on Sunday and do this? Well, let me get this. So Clint Kubiak is considered the hottest coordinator in the NFL, and he's going to get the Raider job. Check. Mm-hmm. Josh McDaniels is arguably one of the greatest offensive coordinators in pro football history. He coached Brady, and look what he's doing now with Drake May. He may not be a great head coach, Mark, but I'll tell you what, when it comes to evolving quarterbacks and growing quarterbacks, I think this guy knows what he's doing. And then you look at Mike McDonald, the defensive savant. Then you look at what Vrabel's doing. I mean, the two best coaching staffs are in the Super Bowl. So coaching matters, man. I mean, you're right. I've seen Sean McVay with some of those decisions. Ben Johnson with some of those decisions that he made in that Rams game. I mean, coaching came down to it. Nick Sirianni in that 4th and 11 and going against Kyle Shanahan. Who do you like in the game on Sunday?
I like the Seahawks. I look, the Patriots.
I love that Sam Darnold story.
I mean, okay, that was another thing. How much coaching matters?
Yeah.
Yeah, Adam Gase did a brilliant job with Sam Darnold, didn't he? That whiz kid. But also, I mean, he goes to Carolina. I know he had Joe Brady there for a little bit in Carolina. He was with Matt Rule there. He goes to San Francisco. Then he goes to Minnesota, and then now Seattle. And you look at it the last 2 years, and I've heard multiple players now talk about this with Sam Darnold. It's like, oh, that's the Sam Darnold that the Jets drafted, but messed up because they're the Jets. But again, here's the story of it all. Coaching matters. Coaching matters.
It surely does. Last one here for you. So Belichick doesn't make it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, right? In first ballot.
No.
So now Bob Kraft doesn't make it to the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. So let me get this right here. Shedeur Sanders is a Pro Bowler. Bob Kraft is not a Hall of Famer, and Bill Belichick, the winningest owner in the Super Bowl era, and the winningest coach in the Super Bowl era. I choose to you, and maybe this is another dumbass question again here, Farzy, but I want you to help me out here, understand dumb. Help me here. Your takeaway on this and what's been a crazy story with these two guys, the winningest pair in NFL history during the Super Bowl era, not Hall of Famers. Thank you.
I think spite is a beautiful thing. Spite is a beautiful, delectable, delicious thing, man.
You know what? I got to tell you, who taught me this? There was a guy in my communications class. He called it a caesura, and he said, "You know what a timely pause is, my friend? A timely pause at sometimes in broadcasting will always be a lot more than sometimes you hollering at the way you do."
Hell yeah.
A timely pause. Hey, dude, I got to tell you, I watched that story this week, and I'm like, yeah, I don't get it. I mean, how they came to that conclusion. And so don't you agree then? They have to use that on Brady then too, right?
Absolutely. It's just a matter of whether or not Brady will just charm the pants off of all of them and have them vote for him anyway.
So Brady wouldn't be a first ballot? Wow.
Yeah, that would be certainly mind-blowing, more so than anybody else because he's playing the game, obviously. But yeah, if they keep that precedent over cheating, scandals, all that, then yeah, that would have to follow suit. I don't think it actually happens. I think it's easier to keep a coach out, keep an owner out than it is to keep the quarterback out that, by the way, did win a Super Bowl in another place, including beating Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl. I would be surprised. I would be surprised, I'll say that, if Tom Brady doesn't become a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think it's easier to direct spite at the owner and the coach than it is the actual player.
Well, I'll tell you, I can't wait to see how this plays out. Farzy, I